Kit Green spots a suspicious new alliance on Coronation Street as the investigation into the murder of Theo Silverton ramps up. With several suspects roaming around Weatherfield, who does the police officer suspect? The villainous Theo was revealed to be the victim in the ITV soap's Murder Week, though it isn't clear who committed the crime. There are 6 suspects: Todd, George, Christina, Danielle, Summer and Gary, in all, with the mystery set to deepen. This week's scenes have seen the police make initial inquiries, with George, Gary and Maria all being brought in for questioning. Though it isn't apparent who murdered Theo, they are all hiding secrets of some sort. Today's episode saw George gather Christina, Glenda, Mary, Sarah, Sean and Summer to discuss Todd's situation. Despite facing abuse at the hands of Theo, he has struggled to adjust to life following his traumatic ordeal. He doesn't take kindly to the group gathering behind his back, and posits that one of them may have murdered Theo. He gets a surprise later on, as Theo's ex-wife Danielle visits him in the Rovers. In a candid conversation, she recalls her time with Theo, saying she was always afraid of him due to his controlling nature. Todd, meanwhile, said he was grieving Theo despite all the trauma that he left in his wake. Kit, meanwhile, was interviewing Jody following her return to Weatherfield. David and Shona were both present, with the police officer later telling Sarah that they are yet to find a lead for her attacker. She also recalls her conversation with Todd, where he accused the group of plotting to murder Theo. This perks Kit's curiosity, and he explains that Todd has the strongest motive to kill Theo. Todd meets with Gary later on, and plainly asks if he was the one who killed Theo. Gary says that he merely agreed to Todd's suggestion of scaring him off, and states that he only smashed up his van. Todd accuses Gary of lying, and Gary follows with the same claim. They agree to not speak any further for the time being due to bad optics, but they are unaware that Kit was watching the meeting unfold. The cliffhanger leads into next week's developments, where Kit becomes convinced that Gary was the one who killed Theo. With some undiscovered evidence pointing to his guilt, could he really have murdered the villain? The morning sun barely touched the cobbles of Weatherfield when DC Kit Green stepped out of his car, already sensing that something about today didn't sit right. Early ITVX releases usually brought chaos, but this felt different, quieter, calculated. The kind of quiet that meant people were hiding things in plain sight. Kit adjusted his jacket and began walking toward the precinct cafe. He had been around long enough to know when trouble was brewing beneath the surface. And lately, the street had been nothing but trouble. Inside the cafe, the familiar hum of chatter greeted him. Roy was behind the counter, carefully arranging cups, while a few locals exchanged gossip over tea. But Kit wasn't listening to any of it. His eyes locked onto a corner booth. Sarah Platt was sitting there. That alone wasn't unusual. Sarah was always involved in something, work drama, family tension, or some new business idea that would inevitably explode within a week. But today, she wasn't alone. Across from her sat Eli Carter, a man Kit recognized from previous police reports. Small-time connections, nothing major on paper, but Kit had learned long ago that nothing major often turned into something very major very quickly. What made it worse was the way they were talking. Leaning in. Low voices. Quick glances toward the door. Kit slowed his pace. He wasn't supposed to interfere off-duty, but instinct rarely respected policy. He moved closer, pretending to check his phone as he passed the window. Eli slid a folder across the table. Sarah didn't open it immediately. Instead, she hesitated, just long enough for Kit to notice. That hesitation mattered. People who had nothing to hide didn't hesitate. Kit stepped inside. The bell above the door chimed, cutting through the cafe's calm atmosphere like a blade. Both Sarah and Eli looked up instantly. The shift in their expressions was subtle, but not subtle enough. "Morning," Kit said casually, sliding into the booth uninvited. Sarah forced a smile. "Kit. Didn't expect to see you here." Clearly, he replied, eyes drifting to the folder. What's this? Eli straightened in his seat. Just business. Kit let out a quiet breath through his nose. Business has a habit of involving the wrong people on this street. Sarah tapped her fingers against the table. It's nothing illegal. That was exactly what people always said right before something became illegal. Kit didn't touch the folder yet. Instead, he watched them both. Sarah looked tense, but not panicked. Eli, however, was different. Too relaxed. Too confident. That confidence didn't belong in Weatherfield. Before Kit could press further, the cafe door opened again. Lisa Swain walked in. Her eyes immediately flicked to the booth. The moment she saw Kit, she frowned. You're early, she said. I could say the same about you, Kit replied. Lisa stepped closer, her gaze shifting between Sarah and Eli. Am I interrupting something? Just a meeting, Sarah said quickly. Lisa didn't look convinced. Neither did Kit. And that was when it happened. Eli stood up. Actually, he said, grabbing the folder, this meeting's done. Too fast. Too sharp. He placed a hand on Sarah's shoulder, not comforting, not friendly. More like confirmation. Like they had agreed on something before Kit ever arrived. And then he left. Silence lingered after the door closed. Lisa turned to Sarah. What was that about? Sarah exhaled slowly. It's complicated. Kit leaned back in his seat. That's usually code for, you won't like the answer. Sarah shot him a look. It's not criminal, Kit. Just, arrangements. Arrangements involving someone like him. Lisa asked. Sarah didn't answer. That was answer enough. Later that afternoon, Kit found himself outside the precinct, replaying the scene in his head. Something about Eli Carter didn't add up. The way he moved, the way he spoke, it wasn't random. It was structured. Like someone had trained him to behave a certain way. And Sarah. Sarah was not stupid. Whatever she was involved in, she believed she was in control of it. That was the most dangerous kind of mistake. Kit was about to head back inside when his phone buzzed. A message. Unknown number. You're looking in the wrong direction, Kit. His jaw tightened. He looked around instinctively. No one nearby. Another message followed. The Platts aren't your problem. Eli is just the messenger. Kit's grip tightened on the phone. He didn't respond. Instead, he walked. Fast. By evening, Kit was back on the street, this time near the back entrance of the Rovers. Rain had started falling lightly, turning the cobbles slick and reflective. He spotted them immediately. Sarah again. But not alone. Eli Carter was there too, but so was someone else. A woman Kit didn't recognize. Late 30s, dark coat, watching the street like she owned it. Kit slowed his pace again, staying in shadow. The trio stood close together. Not just talking now, planning. Sarah handed the woman a small envelope. Eli nodded once. Then the woman smiled. That smile told Kit everything he needed to know. This wasn't business. It was coordination. A network. A system. And Sarah Platt was part of it. Kit stepped forward. All right, he called out. The three of them turned sharply. Too late to hide it now. Sarah's face went pale. Eli looked annoyed more than afraid. But the woman, she didn't move at all. She studied Kit like he was the one interrupting something important. DC Green, she said calmly. You know me. Kit replied. I know your type. Kit didn't like that. What's going on here? He demanded. Sarah stepped forward quickly. Kit, you need to leave this alone. Too late for that. Eli muttered something under his breath, but the woman raised a hand and he stopped immediately. That alone told Kit everything. She was in charge. Listen carefully, the woman said. You've seen nothing. Kit let out a short laugh. That's not how this works. It is when you don't understand what you're dealing with. Silence dropped between them. Rain hit the pavement harder now. Kit studied her face, trying to place her. Nothing came. Who are you? He asked. She tilted her head slightly. Someone keeping Weatherfield balanced. That didn't mean anything. Or it meant everything. Sarah looked torn. Eli looked impatient. But neither spoke. The woman stepped closer to Kit. You have two choices, she said softly. Walk away. Or become a problem we solve. Kit didn't move. I don't walk away from suspicious alliances. A pause. Then she smiled again. This one, she said, glancing at Sarah and Eli, is bigger than you think. And just like that, she walked away into the rain. Eli followed. Sarah hesitated. For the first time, Kit saw real fear in her eyes. Sarah, he said quietly. But she shook her head. I can't, she whispered. Then she left too. Kit stood alone in the rain, staring down the empty street. Whatever he had just seen wasn't a coincidence. It was a beginning. And in Weatherfield, beginnings always led to something worse. Much worse. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Coronation.